Yes. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Black Luna Podcast. Today, we're going to be speaking about mental health in black homes in the black community.
I just skipped over who you is and who I
They already know who is at this point.
am. No, this is Allie and this is Vinny because it's terrible.
Nigga, they see our whole face up there
You
plastered on the screen.
don't have to introduce yourself.
Oh my God! Listen, it's not about who. It's not about the messenger, Lex. It's about the message.
It's not about the message. It's about the message. And you ain't even on the game. That's crazy.
You goddamn right I'm not on the game. I'm over here checking, making sure that we got everything set up from the audio standpoint.
You right. You right.
Let me check and see the audio is coming through properly.
You about the message. And you ain't even on the game. That's crazy.
You goddamn right Okay, well, there it is. We are good. Yo, I had to check. No, because the first okay, look. The first podcast I could not hear myself whatsoever.
You were absolutely low.
What?
No, I said you were low last time.
Yeah, I couldn't hear myself for shit.
hmm
You talking
But
about
yeah, we're
for
mental health within black homes.
indeed.
Yeah.
Uh, you want to start it off? Because I don't know where you want to go with this, so it's up to you.
Nah, it just sucks because like I've dealt with it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially when it came to like my mom. My father was like way more understanding, but with her, she's a preacher, so like everything is like Bible this, God that, the devil's this, the devil's that, whatever. And there's been times when I would sit there, or my sisters would sit there as well, and we're like, she always complained that we will never talk to her about anything or whatever the case is. And whenever we would sit there and try to express something, it was always, you know, well, it's just the devil talking, or depression's not a real thing, and just pray about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I get where she's coming from with that in a sense, but like people are really out here taking meds and stuff and doing certain things to try to overcome these things. And I think people are starting to get it more now because of the amount of people who's been committing suicide because of these mental issues they have. So my mom, she watches the news a lot, which at times, to be honest, can be really annoying. But she has nothing really better else to do. But sits there and she sees that kids are doing these things, um, committing suicide because they're being bullied and they don't know how to go about certain things and whatnot. When having to be bullied, having to be bullied, it takes a lot on your mental health as well. So I used to be bullied back in middle school, junior high school. Then eighth grade, I like snapped and like started fighting back and realized that my height and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So um, even then, she didn't really take it serious. But nowadays, I think she sees more of what's going on the news, with kids and stuff like that, and she's just like, oh yeah, like well maybe you should go to a therapist and talk to someone about these things and whatnot because um, she doesn't want certain things to happen, whatever the case is.
Right.
That I can honestly give her, before I don't know, man, different, but I mean she's older, she's like about to be 80 next year actually. So
Right.
that's like totally understandable. Like the way they were raised and stuff like that, it was just like, suck it up and do what I tell you to do type of mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like it's sad to say, but it's true. And like, to be honest with you, at times I admire them because it's like, yo, like you're still here. You know what I'm saying? Like you're about to be 80. You know, you're strong, you're independent, and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But then there are things nowadays that contributes to us and the things that we're going through. You know, that's different from the things that they were going through at the time, during their time. You know, things were cheaper. Things were cheaper back then. Things are not as cheap now, you know, as it was back then. So a lot of things take toll on our mental health these days.
Right.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say?
Oh man, don't get me started. Don't.
No, say what you gotta say.
So look, this is the way I feel about it, man. You could look at it from three different generations. For me, I mean, I feel like our generation is a lot more like into the whole, talking and shit. But like, me personally, I'm not even really about the talking shit because I feel like, and we kind of touched on this the last podcast, even though they couldn't hear what the fuck I was saying about people depending on like substances and shit like that. But it's like
Yeah.
even our generation, we can't really thoroughly complain because even though we acknowledge that mental health issues are a thing, we don't go about treating them the proper way. Like we talk about it on Instagram and all this shit all the time, but like a lot of people don't actually go to see a therapist. They just complain and complain and complain and then do the same shit. They don't take accountability of looking on themselves, right? But at least we
Mm-hmm.
can get to the point where we acknowledge that there's a problem, right? Which is a step in the right direction. Generation before us, they're kind of in that situation where they started feeling a little bit of what we felt, a little bit because there was a little bit of a shift between our grandparents and our parents. But
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't bad enough for them to actually, need to like focus on it. So they just went through life like they kind of had that last golden period where they have enough knowledge to survive in today's world with the way that it's going right now, but they could have capitalized on it back then when shit wasn't so bad. So they kind of have it easy where they don't have to think about the same shit.
Right.
Our grandparents, on the other hand, I could tell you from like personal experience with my grandparents, they're like mental health and shit like that isn't really like a thing for them. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if it's because of the way that they grew up or if it was because majority of their life is done living and majority of the hardship that they've went through has already been done. But it's like they're up until the point where I feel like they have it to where they feel like if I've gotten this far, then I'm not gonna let some extra stupid shit, take away from me. And I think it's more like a pride thing for them. But for us, because we're in the situations where um, everything is out of whack, like fucking dating is out of whack, jobs are out of whack, housing is out of whack, like everything, social media, people comparing themselves, and like even I, deal with some of this shit. So it's like there's a lot of stuff there, and then on top of that, we have responsibilities that some of these, no offense, some of these older folks never fucking dealt with some of the shit that we have to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, and even if they had some of the same responsibilities as us, they didn't have as much pressure with those responsibilities. You know what I mean? Like back in the
Right.
day, somebody taking care of their parents was like simple shit, but for us, that's legitimately a thing. You have to like budget and fucking think about whenever you do it in your life. You have to think about somebody else. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. For me personally, I feel like mental health is like I don't even personally talk about my mental health a lot of the times. I just deal with that shit on my own. And then even when I deal with it on my own, I have to deal with people telling me, "Oh, well, why are you acting like this and acting like
Mm-hmm.
that?" And it's like that's just I rather have people look at me like that than to sit there and speak on something and then I get told that I'm just being bitchy or I'm being, you know, yeah. So I for me personally, it's like at this point I don't give a fuck because at the end of the day, I gotta do what I gotta do to you know, make what I need to happen. And if I
Mm-hmm.
need to be, it's okay to feel down sometimes. I feel like that's another thing with um, this topic is that a lot of people feel like they can't feel down, and that when they're down, it's constantly a problem. No, you can feel down. That's a natural human emotion to feel sad and feel like, but it's when it's a constant thing, right? And even
Right.
when you're going through those emotions, you have to go through those emotions with with the ideology that there's going to be something that you're looking forward to happening after the sadness. So if you're sad because there's there's something that you're going through right now, but it's going to come to pass eventually, that's okay, because that's sadness because you're dealing with something. You know what I mean? Just like
That time,
hardship.
during that time.
Right. Just like hardships, let's say you go to the fucking gym and you're lifting weights for the first week. You're going to be sore, but you know that's hardships because you're working towards something you've never done. So, but it's when people get to the point where they don't do things about it, or when they're getting shamed, or like that's the issue. And specifically in the black community, and not just in the black community, I feel like in minority communities in general, mental health is very looked down upon because they kind of feel like, okay, well, I'm a minority too because I'm your parents or I'm your grandparents or whatever, but I'm older than you and I had shit harder than you, so if I didn't have mental health issues, you don't have any. So this is just bullshit you're making up as excuses, which isn't the case.
So whatever the case is,
and which isn't the case. So for me, it's like I don't feel like it's a necessary conversation to have with elders or whoever. If I'm feeling down mentally, I'm never going to talk to people about it. Majority of the shit that I go through in my life, I do not talk to other people about. Just in general. That's something I've learned personally that works for me, because I found a way to be accountable, hold myself responsible for shit, and nobody is ever going to be a bigger critic to me than myself. Ever. I've always been that way. So the biggest thing with me and what my mental health is, I don't talk to people about it, but I make sure that I understand why I'm feeling a certain way. I try to take my little time and my space to myself, and then eventually I'll get through it. Or if I don't get through it, I have to understand there's a reason why, because I'm not putting in enough work, or that's just the situation I'm in, and eventually it's going to come to pass. But I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily have the same mindset that I do, just because they be going through worse shit than I'm going through. So like it's a really fucked up thing. It's a really fucked up thing, because there's really no solution to mental health within our generation. I feel like mental health within the next generation is going to be even worse, possibly, just based off of the shit that's happening in the world right now. And you can see that. I mean, like, when I was in fucking school shooters were like, what? Not very common. You know what I mean?
It really wasn't.
And then this year alone, there's been a couple. So it's like, it might be it might be like a combination of the pandemic. It might be a combination of mental health getting even worse as time is passing and people are getting younger. It could be a situation with bullying being unchecked, which is another thing with mental health that people don't talk about. People be having lifelong issues that stem from childhood or bullying and shit like that people never talk about. But I just feel like if people actually sat there and at least had the conversation without trying to put down people's perspective or their feelings or what they're going through, then they would understand it. And I get why people look at it from a oh well, this and that perspective, because in the world in general, especially with the older generation, they're used to looking at things as factual, because factual is what gets them to make progress. But when it comes to mental health, you can't look at it from a factual standpoint, because it's not, you can't factually look at your own mind and look at and see emotions. Emotions and facts don't go together. They're two different sides of the same coin, but they don't go together. So the most you can do is probably balance the coin on this side, which I think majority of the time people just like to flip the emotions face down and then leave the facts face up. So I don't know, the issue.
People like to flip the coin for the emotions to be face down.
What'd you say?
I said, which group of people do you feel flip the coin for their emotions to be flipped down and the facts to be flipped up?
Mostly the older generation, just because again, like they had that, and I get it. In certain ways, they did have it worse, because like again, our grandparents and shit probably like. They probably didn't groceries, like they probably had less money. They probably had to make shit work. They probably had less clothes, and they had to do certain shit to eat, and they had to work, and shit like that. I understand. So they had to be factual, and they couldn't look at their mental health. But then when you think about how over time they've made society to where everybody is supposed to be slaves of labor to work for companies and, you know, judge ourselves based off of social media and stuff. When you look at it that way, they've pretty much it's a totally different demographic now, because our grandparents and shit, if they ended up working for like a company or some shit like that, that was like them having a job at a company and working was considered something a little bit out of the norm, and they were making good money. Now somebody working in the factories, working as a nurse, that's like normal. That's like barely considered within the next coming years. That's going to be barely considered like middle class like type shit. You know what I mean? So because everybody's being entrepreneurs now, because they're realizing that the demographic that they've turned us into, we're basically slaves mentally and physically to work for other companies, and it fucks with us because then we're stuck based off of the progress that we made in school, or, you know, the background that we came from, and the our salary, right? And so we look at the things that we have, the things that we can do based off of what we're working with, and we compare ourselves on social media. So we're pretty much in a totally different bracket compared to then. Back then, it's like if you were just surviving and y'all were cool, y'all had food to eat, that's it. Y'all were good. Y'all were successful, and you didn't really have anybody to compare yourself to. Now it's readily available that you can look at things that you might want occasionally and realize you're never going to be able to have that because of the way that things are setting up, and you're just going to compare yourself.
Right. There's another thing, because you spoke about going to a therapist earlier, and I've seen in a situation with someone I'm very close to. They went to go see a therapist, and there's been a few therapists actually, and they actually tried to get help, you know, and the therapist just didn't care. I'm not gonna say like didn't care, but they were there because, you know, that's their job. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like they didn't put much effort into it, so that person felt very discouraged and just didn't bother to go back. So I had like to have conversations with them for weeks. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, yo, like, just keep trying. You know, you need to talk. You need to speak to someone because, you know, everything you've been going through, and, you know, this is not something you should hold on to.
Right.
You know? So they end up finding a therapist or whatever the case is. And then, you know, they were like, oh my God, you know, like they really appreciate it and whatnot. And it was just like, you know, like, it's been helping and whatnot. You know, they got to take meds or whatever the case is to help. But they felt a lot better about it and whatnot. I'm gonna need you to take over for a little bit. 1 second.
All right. So the thing about mental health is, especially when it comes to therapists, is that even sometimes therapists don't feel like a safe space, because some of those people might be going there for certain issues, where they might feel suicidal or whatever the case may be, and then they go there and then they're like, okay, this person is looking at me like I'm insane or crazy, and then they want to put this person on medicine. Sometimes people don't even really, unless it's like a legitimate issue, and I know some people are gonna feel like weird about me saying that, but like some things don't need medicine for mental health. I feel like a lot of shit, unless, you know, it's something super serious, a lot of shit just comes down to somebody hearing them applying the actual rules of psychology to that person and helping them go through whatever their traumas or whatever their issues are. But the thing is, therapists are so, you know, like, even with them, they're back to the same thing that I was saying before, with the everybody being slaves and trying to be or being forced to be like workers essentially for bigger companies. Even pharmacists and you know, doctors and psychologists, all these people are the same thing. So like they have to sell, you know, those medicines, which is why even now there's a difference between the therapists back then and now, is because therapists back then, they had multiple different methods of, you know, going through and solving these issues with people, but they would actually sit down with you on a chair, or they had like, you know, alternative methods of going out and seeing nature and, you know, traveling, you know, different things like that. They actually had like real life applications that didn't necessarily involve medicine all the time. So when it comes to medicine, I feel like that's a slippery slope, because the whole point of going to therapy is you want to get a fix, but you don't want to get a fix that makes you reliant on something. You want to get a fix that's usable long term for people, and I feel like putting people on medicine isn't necessarily the best way to do that, because putting people on medicine just makes them dependent to fix an issue, which is essentially, I mean, what was the point of the therapist if the basically the solution to the problem was going to be the medicine in the first place?
Right.
But yeah, see the I don't know, man. And that's the thing about therapists, is that just like with anything, there's people that take their job seriously, and there's people that do it for the money and all this kind of crazy shit. But unlike doctors, majority of the doctors that are there, they're there to actually do their job. They understand the severity of what they're doing. What I find with therapists is that some of them do it just because it's something that they're intrigued in, but they're not truly there to help people. You know what I mean? They're trying to do everything by the book. But even when I was in psychology class, they had multiple different types of ways of treating people. And from what I've seen, just from like looking at some of the way that some of these therapists that have like Twitches and YouTubes or whatever, these people are not even like attempting to apply those types of things. Majority of the time, they're trying to look at the most simple, reference to what they see in you to the book, and they're like, okay, well, this is this issue, so you're displaying symptoms of bipolar disorder, bipolar 1, bipolar 2, whatever. This is the medicine that I suggest for you, and then they'll tell you, oh, well, eat better and work out. That's not that's not even remotely close to what the original and I'm saying, not saying the original psychologists were great, because they weren't, but the thing, they actually went through effort. Like there was treatments, and it was long-term psychology, getting people to understand their own issues and helping them help themselves. Giving people medicine and listening to them in one session and then making them come back while they're on medicine is not doing anything, because you could see progress in, like, if somebody's bipolar, you give them medicine for bipolar 1, right? And they come back in the next session and they're looking better. Obviously they're going to look better because you just gave them an antidepressant. So it's not really a solvent to the issue. It's just like you gave them again, and this goes back to what I said the first time, substance dependency, where it's you're just making up short-term fixes. Mental health is something that needs to be fixed logically, understanding people's emotions, making them feel like they're heard, giving your own insight based off of what you've seen and your own expertise. I'm pretty sure that psychologists go through clinicals and everything on their own, so I'm pretty sure they see people that go through these issues multiple times, not just once. They can sit down and actually give these people like real, not necessarily solutions, because they can never really give you a solution, but they're supposed to be there to help guide you, help you guide yourself to your own solution, or your own mediation, or your own long-term process to mediating whatever the hell you're dealing with. Because a lot of the times with therapists, a real therapist will sit there and tell you, your traumas are never, you're never really gonna completely get over your traumas or your unconscious bias. It's just learning how to live with them, understanding where they come from, and understanding how to progress from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm really funny about medicine, and I guess that's why I kind of don't think a therapist is a good idea either. Because to me, I know this is gonna sound cheesy, because I know a lot of people put it on Instagram or social media, but to me, I feel like, and this is what I do all the time, I go out, I find a hobby that I like. I don't tell nobody where the fuck I'm going. I don't give a shit how people feel about that. I don't tell nobody where the fuck I'm going. I go out and do what I want to do. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of people live their entire life doing what companies, their parents, their friends, whatever want them to do. Sometimes you just need alone time. Go out, see some nature, breathe some fresh air. Go do a hobby that's weird that somebody might judge you for, but it's something that you always wanted to do. You'll find peace in that, because you're learning and you're putting yourself in a space where you personally want to be. You know what I mean? And because you're so invested in this thing, you'll realize that you're starting to feel your mood improve. So I don't know. I feel like mental health is in our community is really fucked up. Not only because of the elders, but then you got to also think it's just it's not something that we think about. Like, even if you think about minorities, majority of the time it's either we're working too fucking hard on jobs
Mhm.
for other people, or we're
Mhm.
entrepreneurs and we're too busy getting money and flossing and looking on people, trying to look down on people below us, right? So you think these niggas like Future, Drake, fucking Nicki Minaj, all these people, you think these people probably have mental health issues too? Just because they have money don't mean they don't have mental health issues, or, you know,
That's right.
shit that they're going through. But they're probably too busy stuck in this fucking mindset of, I need to make money because this is the way that I need, this is the stereotype that I've been pretty much forced into. And they're too busy looking down on other people, and that's basically their way of trying to keep themselves together, making money, looking down on other people, trying to be ahead of the pack. Whereas everybody else, like the normal majority of people, especially minorities, we have a lot of shit that we have to deal with, but majority of us are too busy being slaves to corporations and working, and, you know, just trying to make ends meet and trying to find those, yeah, trying to
Yeah.
find those little happy moments here and there. So I feel like it's not just on the elders, but it's also on us too, because
Mhm.
we have the opportunity to break free from that, but we don't. So
But it's like, how are we to do so? Like, and that's the thing. Even if you try to, you go to see someone, or you do get a hobby at times. Because even when you do things that you, a hobby, whatever, it could be for a short time as well. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're still gonna have these issues. You're still gonna have these problems. You know what I'm saying?
I would be honest. One thing that I noticed, especially looking at like rappers, like J. Cole is probably like, he's not my favorite rapper, but I feel like as far as storytelling, as far as positive vibes and actually having meaningfulness in the way that he speaks when he's rapping, when he's storytelling his albums, and the way that he actually steps outside of his music, he's probably the most meaningful rapper I think out right now. Um, because he does shit with purpose. You know what I mean? So he didn't come from like the greatest background. You know what I mean? He went to college. He came back. His mother was going through shit. You know, he went through that phase where he was fucking over women. He went through that phase where women were fucking over him, and then he eventually got to a purpose where he was like, you know what? I need to step my shit up because I'm a grown man now. And once he started making money, he noticed that he was, just like I was saying about Drake and them, he was trying to compete and trying to make money and, you know, floss. And then next thing you know, this nigga went on a hiatus, came back with dreads. He was dressing and everybody was calling him a hobo. But he
Yeah.
basically did what I feel like a lot of people, especially minorities, need to do in order to get happiness, mental health wise, is, you know, you can look for happiness and, you know, compete, but you need to not compete with other people. Compete to find your own happiness. You know what I mean? And with him, what I noticed was he stopped wearing Jordans. He stopped trying to have the freshest car. He stopped trying to have the freshest clothes. He was just himself. He spoke on issues. He tried to be himself. He came back. He tried to teach people that were younger than him, rappers that were younger than him. And
Mhm.
he's probably one of, if I'm looking right now, he's probably the most like happiest rapper being himself right now. You know, he's not trying to floss. He's not like Drake or none of them niggas posting up, oh well, you know, I got this new chain, or, you know, he doesn't have to flex with niggas no more because he's been himself, trying to find himself. I feel like
That
us,
like that inner peace.
yeah, because he's doing shit for himself now. He's not doing shit to compete or, you know, to try and fit into the social structure that they've already putting us into. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's what we have to do, even though we're not on that status as him. Obviously, we have to do that too. We can't go into jobs because of how much money it makes. We can't go into jobs knowing necessarily, and I know this is a slippery slope, but you can't go into jobs thinking about how is this going to make me secure in the long run. Majority of the jobs that we're going to get are never going to make us secure as our fucking parents were. Period.
Mhm.
Regardless. Even if you're a
Mhm.
fucking doctor, you're not going to be as secure as our fucking grandparents were with the jobs they had as fucking factory workers. So stop being pressured into that, oh well, I need to do this because this is a safe job and this makes money. That shit is not going to be good long term, because when our parents and our fucking grandparents are gone, we're going to be the people stuck in these goddamn jobs talking about security, but we're going to realize we're just barely making it fucking by when the next shift comes,
Yep.
because that's going to be seen as standard then. We're not going to have as much money as we thought we did. So it's better to, this is personally what I say, it's better to struggle in the real world but have mental peace and humility than
Mhm.
to sit out here and compete and have everything on the outside world going good for you, but mentally be unstable. There's so many
Yep.
people who have, like we look at them all the time. You know, these niggas have so much money, and we're just like, well, why is this person depressed? Or like, we don't know what's going on. They probably been sacrificing their whole career and things that they wanted to do just to get to that point, and they realize they don't even want that shit because they don't even feel like they know themselves anymore. So I don't know. The way I see it, if I could ever give somebody advice on like mental health type shit for what we need to do in our community, stop thinking that we all have to be rappers. We don't all have to be fucking athletes. We don't all have to be fucking doctors. We don't all have to be fucking gangsters and thugs and strippers and shit like that. You can go out. You can be a fucking artist, bro. Like seriously, you could be like go and paint, draw,
Mm-hmm.
fucking I don't know, build kites, some shit. Be a mechanic. Like it don't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes you can even volunteer. Like, say you love animals or whatever the case is, go to like your nearest animal shelter. It'll bring more like bring joy to your face into that little animal's face. You just simply keeping them company and stuff and having fun. You know, that may be a little hobby or something like that. But also helping the community or the little animals. But I had to learn that the hard way. Um, I used to always do for the job and whatnot, to the point I was their like go-to person if they needed someone to stay and do overtime, whatever the case is. Somebody called out, you know what I'm saying? And after a while, it took a toll on me, and I was getting angry, and I started to hate the job. And it wasn't the job I hated; the work itself was fine, but it started to become the more of like higher ups and stuff like that was just getting me tight. Like y'all sit here, y'all constantly say y'all care about our mental health and things of that sort. And in all reality, you don't. You really don't.
Right.
One of the higher ups, she could have been hiring people to work for her department, but they taking people from our department to go work in her department, and we're just like, you like why y'all can't be doing that. Y'all want people to stay over and do extra work and stuff like that, and people were getting tired of it. People started to quit. A lot of people left the job. A lot of people quit. A lot of people retired and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, y'all say these things, but y'all don't stand by it. And that's how y'all lose workers. People don't care no more like how they used to before. You don't.
Yeah.
I couldn't even do it anymore myself. Now I was a very good worker. You know, I'm not choosing I'm not choosing to work at this job over my mental health and my child and stuff. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. So, you can always go and find another job. It may not pay as much, you know what I'm saying? It may not be what it is that um your family, whatever the case is, may want you to work at and whatnot. Just do what makes you happy. Majority of my life has been based off of doing what my mother wanted me to do or my older sister wanted me to do. It's never been what Alexis wanted to do. You know,
Right.
I have to keep a reputation going, not for me, but for them. Oh well, my child, she graduated college with her degree, bachelor's degree in behavioral science and criminal justice, and now she works for this and that, so criminal justice job. And I wasn't happy. I enjoyed the work, but to be honest, I was not happy, and the pay was okay. You know, but compared to student loans and stuff like that, I have to pay back. Yo, like, is it really worth it? And that's another thing too. Like, it's a lot of stress. Just a lot. We'll talk about that another time. But it's just a lot of stress. A lot of stress. It's really hard these days for people around our age, man. When older people think it's a lot easier, it's really not. It's honestly not. And I think, to be honest, I feel like it's messed up to pick out your child at a certain age because you feel like this is what happened with me when I was younger. You should be fine. You should be okay with it. Things
Yeah.
is not like how it used to be. Not at all. So that also takes a toll on people around our age, living on their own and stuff like that. Working 2, 3, 4 jobs just to pay rent and other things, necessities that they need. It's crazy. Like, it's honestly crazy these days. You're not getting any sleep. You know what I'm saying? You're just working. What me time do you have? You're not getting any. You know?
Yeah.
You're working so much, you're tired. Even if you do try to do something for yourself, it's hard to, because you want to sleep. You not just want, but you need to sleep.
And the crazy thing about that is, we be sitting here like trying to get these great ass jobs, right? You do all this work, get to college, get your great ass job, just so you can have money to do extra shit. Then you realize you don't have time to do extra shit or to even spend that extra money. So by the time, let's say you go to work, right? You come back, you have your off day. You saying, well, I wanted to go to this. Let's say it's a paint and sip, right? I wanted to go
Mm-hmm.
to this paint and sip because I got the money to do it, because I did good in college, and I have this job that I've been working hard on. I feel like I need to reward myself. You so fucking broke down because of the work you did all week. Now you can't even enjoy that. And then
Yep.
it becomes a
Yeah.
cycle of just going to work. And then you find yourself saving money, but your intention was never to save money. You actually wanted to kind of spend that money to make yourself slightly happy and enjoy some of the finer things in life. But you can't even do it because you're working yourself so goddamn hard.
Yep.
And
Finally been there.
I see, the thing with me is, I've never been a person that really gives a fuck about what other people want me to do or how other
Mm-hmm.
people view me. I mean, like, it gets tiring because, like, in my head, I'm like, I can give a shit about what other people want me to do or what their expectations of me are, because part of it is, like, whatever their expectations of me are, they don't know how I feel about certain things or how I want to move. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever they're saying right now, the way that I see it, it automatically sounds selfish whenever somebody else has an expectation of me, because it's like, it's selfish for you to think that your expectation of me is higher than the expectation I already have of myself, or it's even
Like,
the same
judging yourself
expectation.
realistically.
Yeah,
Like, right.
my expectations of myself are always going to be higher than anybody can fucking imagine. So when people come and stress me out about, oh well, why aren't you doing this, and then why isn't this done, and what do you think about this, and you should be doing this, it's like, in my head it's just extra fucking stress. Like, it's not helping me. All that's doing is crippling me and making me feel like, you know what, this is exactly why I don't talk to people. This is exactly why I stay to my fucking self. This is exactly why I don't excuse me. This is exactly why I don't talk about any of my dreams and shit like that, because to me it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not going to talk to my friends about that. I'm not going to talk to my family about that. I'm going to just put in the work and stress about it, and let it be a good stress that I have, because I'm finally taking the steps and having confidence in myself to
Mm-hmm.
go and attack those high expectations I have of myself. Fuck what the
Right.
expectations they are that they have of me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The high expectations I have of myself, once I can stop letting that cripple me, and then I can go out there and actually attack that thing, even if it doesn't work out, at least I don't have regrets. And I realize why that was a high expectation. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I have other expectations. Let me try those things out.
Right.
But me sitting there and, I don't know. I've never been a person that was too big on, like, you know, how my family or whoever the fuck their expectations of me. I can't tolerate that. Like, I stress myself out way more than I need to. So me sitting there and listening to anybody else about their expectations of me is just that's fucking null and void.
Exactly. Especially they don't know what you're going through. Like,
And
and that's another thing. I'm not finna sit here and listen to somebody who didn't graduate high school, who didn't graduate college. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that.
I'm gonna
Who are
be
you
honest.
to tell me how to go about certain things if you your damn self ain't even do it?
I'm gonna be honest. Even if they did, let's say that they did graduate. Let's say that they graduated with a fucking master's. They're an entrepreneur that has fucking $20 million coming in annually. Let's just say hypothetically, right? And they came to me and they were like, "You could be doing better because you could be doing this." I'm like, "Okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna take everything that you say, advice wise, and try and implement that into something that I want to do, because I see it as good advice because you're successful. However, your expectations of me saying that I should be doing something and that I'm doing something wrong, I'm gonna turn that into advice to do something good with. But let's say that they're not somebody successful, right?
Mhm.
I'm not gonna take anything that you're saying seriously, just be off of the simple principle that it's not gonna be bought in the application to me doing something successful. Not that I'm
Mhm.
trying to discredit that person, but it's like you're not understanding what you're asking me to do. And even if you did understand what you're asking me to do, maybe that's not my process. Maybe that's not where my path needs to go. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
imagine going to somebody that's like, imagine if they went to fucking Jesus. He's destined to be fucking Jesus, right? And they were like, well, you know what? You have to go and feed these cows this way, and you have to plant these crops this way.
Mhm.
Them niggas had no fucking idea that the nigga was destined to be Jesus.
You
But
know,
so you can't sit there, and I know that's a horrible like explanation or example, but it's
I
just
get what you're
like you can't you never know what somebody's process or purpose is. You never know what's in their heart. You never know any of that shit. So somebody can be somebody can go and live in the fucking bush by them goddamn self. They can build their own house, eat, hunt by themselves in the woods for the rest of their life. That could be their purpose. They could be the happiest person in life. And you will never know that because you're judging them based off of what you think that you wanted for them. And that's another thing with parents and grandparents. You cannot put your expectations when you have children. We do not ask to be bought here. You cannot put your expectation on us, right?
saying. Yep.
Only thing you can expect us to be is be good children to you. If you want that expectation, I
Mhm.
100% agree that you should expect your children to be good to you. I 100% agree with that. However, having expectations for your children to be doctors, fucking lawyers, shit like that, and then when they don't do that, you start acting a certain way and nagging at them and shit like that. That you can't do that to people because even though they're not,
Benefit themselves though. That's the reason why they get so upset.
it's like
You know.
you can't be doing that to people because it's like even though they might not have been as successful as you wanted them to be, these people still have to live the rest of their life after you're gone. And as a parent and a grandparent, everything that you say to them is going to just as much as social media, everything you say to them as far as how successful they are is going to be based off of their parents or the foundation of their family, right?
Yep.
If I go to my grandmother and I say, well, I got this job and I'm making 80K a year, hypothetically, right? And she says, well, that's not enough money because I made this much money or this person made that much money or your cousin or that could be a great fucking job for somebody today, right? But
Mhm.
because of what she said, I'm gonna go the rest of my life miserable at that job, thinking that it's never enough.
Yep.
So, mental health within our community in general is just really fucked up right now. I'm gonna be honest.
Yep. Definitely is. But a good amount of the things is when it comes to parents, I'm gonna speak from my own experience. Is just to benefit them at the end of the day. I get the whole helping to take care of your parents thing, but to rely on completely is an issue for me. Rely on your child completely is an issue for me. Definitely is. So, but yeah,
I don't.
we played that one time.
Yeah, we didn't play that one game, but I mean, for me, I don't really care if my parents rely on me if I have the means to do so, because it's like for me, I understand if I don't do it, nobody else will, and that's just the way that I have. I'm really like big on, even though I don't like taking shit from my family, I just don't have it in me to let them, like I can't separate myself from them. You know what I mean? Like if my parents need something and I have the means to do it, then if that's the last thing that I have, I'm gonna give it to them, just because that's that's just the way that I am. But
Mm.
at the same time, it's like them expecting shit from me or depending on me isn't an issue. It's when, for me personally, I can only speak about my experience, when I'm the only one expected to sacrifice for my parents
Mhm. Mhm.
or expected to sacrifice for my family. That's the shit that I don't like.
That's a lot.
And it's like, especially like being the fucking youngest, I can't sit there and deal with the shit that I be trying to deal with. Like I be having dreams and aspirations and shit like that, and it's already crippling enough for me because I'm a very unsure person. It takes a lot of fucking time for me to build up the courage and sureness to go and attack something. That on top of the responsibility of knowing that I have other people to rely on me, right? In certain ways, and it's like knowing that there's other people out here who complain about doing certain shit, but they have the total freedom and not having to worry about doing shit, and I'm sitting here struggling on my fucking own to like take care of somebody else. Like it bothers me. It really does, because it's not my responsibility, especially as the youngest. I'm not supposed to have all this fucking responsibility, but I do. And it fucking sucks because nobody asked me. This is just the way that shit ends up.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna sit here and complain because, you know, I love my parents, I love my family.
At the end of the day,
you know,
it's not gonna change anything. Yeah.
I'm not gonna complain because I don't want to make it seem like I'm doing anybody a favor, but at the same time, it would be nice to at least get some fucking help sometimes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm sitting and I know how we talked about comparing ourselves to other people, and that's, you know, one of the leading causes to mental health in our generation. Other people don't have that. Like, I be sitting here, like, I really have to catch myself because I be sitting here comparing myself to other people, realizing that half of these niggas that are out here flexing and shit like that, they don't have to go through half the shit that I fucking go through. Not even remotely. On top of the fact, these people knew what the fuck they wanted to do. They had a solid foundation to bridge off into that thing. They didn't have any responsibilities. As soon as they got the itch in their wings to fucking fly, they can go. They had nothing dragging them down. I don't have that.
Cars, tuitions, and living board paid for and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't fucking have that. Only way I was gonna fucking have that is if I fucking played like sports in school, which I didn't want to fucking do. Yeah. So it's like,
and that's what they be looking and waiting for when it comes to minorities, is sports.
Right, and it's like, I just like, it's not that I didn't have fun playing sports either. It's just like, even when I was in high school, I had so much shit that I was fucking going through and dealing with. It's like, I didn't feel like I had to go and do sports just to make a means, if that made any sense, because I was still trying to, by the time I was in senior year, I was still trying to figure out what the fuck I was supposed to do as far as major and shit in college, and I still haven't really figured it out, but I was still trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing for my major in college. So like that alone was stressing me to fuck out the entire school year. So doing sports would have just, like, even let's say I did get a fucking scholarship, fucking flip of a coin toss chance, right? I would have went to a fucking D3 school, had a partial scholarship, so I still would have been paying money, going full time, working part time, just to pay off the other half of the tuition, and then I have to keep myself in shape and not get injured, and then you gotta fucking, you have to figure out what you want to do. So I don't know, that didn't seem like an option for me.
Yep. Sometimes I wish parents would acknowledge those who actually do for them than to mistreat them as if they don't do for them, and treat the ones that don't do much for them or take advantage of them and give them credit. It's annoying. I'm speaking for myself.
You know,
Speaking on my damn self. It's irritating. Very irritating.
Whatchamacallit, I don't know. Like, I definitely get, like, you know, acknowledgement from my mother that I do shit, but it's just at the same time, it's not her that I'm looking for the acknowledgement from. You know what I mean? Like, I just, like, my fucking siblings just be throwing me in shit, and I don't get a fucking, like, moment to breathe to do what the fuck I want to do. And my mother would be like, you know what, you know, you can go out and, you know, chill and hang with your friends or whatever, but like I realistically, I don't have that opportunity.
Yeah,
I don't, because like she's saying that because she feels pity out of me because of the situation that I'm in. But at the same time, I fucking leave here, something happened to my goddamn mother, that's gonna be on me. So like I'm legitimately in a fucked up ass position where I don't have no room to breathe or dream or even fuck up. I don't have that. You know what I mean? On top of the fact of worrying about my own future, I have to worry about somebody else. and I know that I'm not getting any appreciation from my siblings. So it's like, it's whatever, man. And it sucks to be like that because I'm a person that's really big on family, but
Yeah.
yeah. Life.
Reality, you gotta. Sad to say, you have to accept it. Not much can happen. Not much can change unless I would, decide to help. But it ain't gonna happen. So there's that.
No.
Sadly. But I am proud of you. Taking care of your mom. Her sweet self.
And no, don't even fucking get me started. But nah, man, fucking, man, this mental health shit. I don't know, man. I don't really care no more.
It's a whole lot.
I don't even really be feeling like the effort to want to be fixing shit no more. Like, I just be like, if I feel a certain way, I feel a certain way. It happens. Fuck it. I go over it. It's like I have so much other shit that I have to deal with that me feeling sorry about how the fuck I feel at the current moment don't even make sense no more. Because I have other shit to stress about. Once I'm done stressing about this, something else to stress about. So it's like there's no room for me to sit there and let that cloud my judgment mentally. And the shit that be pissing me off even more is like, people be like, well, you're young, you don't have to deal with too much. Like,
I hate hearing that.
Like,
that get me going.
Like, you have no fun. Like, the thing is, they don't see the grand scheme of things. It's easy to see it. It's easy to look back on your road when you're going the fucking opposite way, and look back at your road and say, oh, the road was a little bumpy for me, but it's not that big of a deal. So then you look across the fucking highway at somebody else who's way the fuck back, just getting on the intersection. You're like, oh, what are you complaining about? What's going on? The road's not too bumpy. Like, nigga, you don't know. You weren't on this road. I don't even know what's on this road yet. But I'm telling you right now, my road is probably more fucked up just based off of the intersection alone. So, like, you sitting here saying, oh, well, there's nothing to worry about, just keep trotting on, that don't fucking work. It really don't.
Yep.
But yeah.
Well, yeah. That's going to be it for me on this topic.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for me too, because I keep talking about this shit, I'm going to get fucking angry. So, just,
a whole moment.
Yeah, we're going to have to call this a podcast, you know what I mean? So yeah, we're thinking about making this a series where we're going to turn this into, issues in the black community. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different topics. So if you guys happen to be watching this video and you see this podcast, because it's going to be a video after I finish with the live, if you guys happen to see this, I suggest you guys subscribe, follow, share, because at the end of the day, we're going to be talking about more issues in the black community that are going to kind of stem.
Comment below and suggest some topics to speak on. That'll be dope as well.
That too, but we're going to speak on some more issues in the black community. We're going to be speaking about like dating, the way that we're seen, our features and how we're looked upon, outside of the community, problems within the community, between different black communities, shit like that. We're going to be speaking on a bunch of different stuff. So if you guys actually want to hear us talk about that, I suggest you comment, like, subscribe, share, But, yeah, that's going to be it for this podcast.
Yep. You guys have a great night.